Hi, I've done a lot of videos on this channel, a couple on my other channel, talking about the subject of diabetes and being diabetic. I was first diagnosed back in 1997. You would think I would know a bunch by this point, because what is that? My goodness. I was going to say 25 years. No, it's more than that. 27 years. And the thing is that I do know a lot, but I don't know it all. And when I discover something new, I'm shocked because one, I should have already known it because I've done a lot of research, but two, because I talked about it before, but in a different way. And I'm going to share this information with those of you who might be diabetic because I went through YouTube looking for something that talked about this particular issue, and it turns out there's nothing talking about the issue the way it affects me. There's a couple of videos talking about it the way it affects, I guess, a lot of other people, but not the way it affects me. So let's talk about this. So I tend to have lows. I have more problem having lows than I do with highs. It's rare that I have a high, probably because no matter what I eat, if it's going to raise my level, and I'm going to call it glucose because I hate the term blood sugar. That's the only time you're ever going to hear that. But glucose will go up. But I tend to walk a lot during the day. So it only goes up so high, it doesn't hurt me at all. It doesn't affect me at all. That's a good thing. But lows are a different animal because you probably won't ever get a low because you just ate. And I'm saying probably because I have noticed every once in a while, if I eat a bunch of dessert at night, and I eat dessert every single night of some kind, but I don't usually overdo it. But if I overdo it, the glucose is going to go up fast, but then it's going to drop really fast. And that could lead to a low. And it could lead to a low because I take my insulin at night. I also take it in the morning. And I'm not going to be walking as much at night because usually I'm getting closer to going to bed. And so I do most of my walking during the day. But everything could be right. I'm doing everything right during the day. I've eaten during the times I'm supposed to eat, which doesn't happen all the time. I have my dessert earlier in the evening. I take my insulin. I take my metformin. Everything's going right. I go to bed. And you think that, okay, my number is fine. It's not going to go up while I go to sleep. It might drop a little bit. That's where the problem comes in. And that's what no one else talks about. There's this thing where if you happen to be diabetic or pre-diabetic and you're outside and you're walking or you're doing whatever, and all of a sudden you start feeling overheated, you could probably be crashing. Your glucose number is falling. I discovered that back in the 2000s. I didn't necessarily equate it to anything at the time because, like I said, there was no information about it. No one ever talked about it. It wasn't online. And what happens is that you're stressing your body because you're doing some exercise. The sun is beating on you. It's way too hot. And you're going to crash. And that has happened to me way back when. It happened to me while I was traveling for work, when I'd be in other places, and most of them were south of where I live, but it didn't matter. It's just an issue I had. And I would overheat. I would feel bad. I would feel like I'm going to, pass out or I get all shaky, and I've got to address that. And it has taken me this long to finally realize that I don't have to be doing any strenuous exercise whatsoever before I start overheating and I crash. Now, it doesn't happen during the day. Never happens during the day. Probably because if I start feeling hot during the day, I just go to the refrigerator, get some cold water, or, make some iced tea or whatever, and I'm covered. I'm good. But it happens a lot when I'm in bed, when I'm asleep, and I wake up. because my body tells me, hey, wake up, you're crashing. And I know when I'm crashing. I'm shaky, I'm hungry, and it's weird. And I have been thinking over the last day or two that, you know what, it must be my electric blanket because it's cold at night. I don't put the temperature on a high, high throughout the entire house. So I just use the electric blanket. And I don't have it on high. I have it just under medium, but I overheat. I sweat a lot and my glucose levels drop. And when I thought about it, before I started doing this video, I said, you know what? That doesn't only happen in the winter when I'm using an electric blanket. It happens during the summer when it's really hot in the house and I'm not turning the air conditioning all the way on. I may turn on the fan to try to blow on me, but I don't like air blowing on me, so I put the covers over me so that I don't overheat. But, they're not the kind of covers that I have during the winter. It's, maybe it's just like a sheet or a blanket, not an electric blanket. But it's one of those kind of things where, like I said, a lot of people don't know that these two things are actually related. Couldn't find any videos. I did go to Google, I did a search, and a lot of times all it was saying was that if you overheat, your glucose levels can rise. I think I found maybe one thing where it talked about your glucose levels could go down. So I'm mentioning it because it's a big deal. And I'm going to tie this into something that the nurse practitioner of my endocrinologist told me the last time I was there. Something that I didn't know. I did a video on my other channel talking about this, and I'm going to talk about this here. It turns out that what you're not supposed to do, this is what I always did, is I would go in, I would get some chocolate milk, or I'd get some apple juice. I would bring it back to the bedroom. I have a roll of Ritz crackers there and a jar of peanut butter. Don't judge me. But this is what I did. And so I would eat some crackers and peanut butter and drink the apple juice at the same time. It turns out, she said, what you need to do is drink the apple juice or anything sweet. Just that. And then wait 15 minutes to see if you start feeling better. You can check your number. If it hasn't gotten back to the normal level, then drink some more apple juice or whatever and wait 15 minutes. And when you're back to the normal level, then eat whatever you want to. She says, if you like your Ritz crackers and peanut butter, that's good because now that's protein and that's going to help you stay well throughout the rest of the night. I never knew that because what I did is I would drink whatever. I'd eat my Ritz crackers with peanut butter and I would eat a lot of them and then I couldn't get back to sleep for 2.5 to 3 hours. You would think there'd be manuals telling you stuff like this, but there's not. So a lot of it is just, you just find out because it happens. And when I find out things like this and it's happening to me, I make an assumption it could be happening to a lot of other people. That's why I like to share things like that on YouTube. So that's all I have. Let me know if y'all go through this. Let me know if this is the first time you're hearing this. Let me know if you actually heard it before, in which case you have better endocrinologists than I do, and mine work for the Joslin Centers, which is nationally known. So there you go. Anyway, my name is Mitch Mitchell. I hope y'all are healthy and feeling good. Take care.